Hi everyone, welcome back to Mission 1820 and this week's episode of Have You Ever Wondered? As always, if you're just joining us, we've been in a series called Books of the Bible, and we've been giving introductions into each book of the Bible in just 5 minutes or less. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started in this week's book. This week I'm actually pretty excited because today we're going through the book of Philippians, which happens to be one of my favorite books within the New Testament. And this is because, well, I really just love the way that Paul is teaching us about joy and encouragement and our own relationship with Jesus. Now, the main theme of Paul's letter to the church of Philippi is that of joy and encouragement in the midst of adverse circumstances that were taking place within the church. Now, Paul in his writing is expressing his affection and his love for the Philippian Christians because of their consistent testimony and the support that they were giving him while he was in prison. But at the same time, Paul's urging them to center their actions and thoughts on the pursuit of the person and power of Jesus Christ. As for the book, it was written by Paul around 62 AD while he was in a Roman prison. The book is only 4 chapters, but it's divided into 4 parts. Now, part 1 is Paul's account of his circumstances. This is in chapter 1. Now, part 2 is Paul's appeal to have the mind of Christ. This is in chapter 2. Part 3 is Paul's appeal to have the knowledge of Christ. That's in chapter 3. And then part 4 is Paul's appeal to have the peace of Christ, and that's in chapter 4. Now, as with many of his letters, and this is what I love about Paul, Paul was warning the new believers in the church of Philippi to beware of the tendency toward legalism, which continually cropped up in the early churches. This was because the Jews were staying so tied to the Old Testament law that they were always pushing the agenda to return to the teaching of salvation by works. But Paul, he was continually stressing to them that salvation is by faith alone in Christ alone and not of works. Paul's joy at the mere thought of the Philippian church is undeniable in his letter. And it's that same joy that he wants the Philippians to possess as well. You see, to lead the Philippians to this truth, Paul took them directly to Jesus, teaching them that a community of believers that are living in harmony with one another can only come through mutual humility that was modeled after Christ. Paul wrote very passionately that he poured out his life as an offering for the sake of Christ, leading him to find even more joy and contentment in serving Christ. Paul's letter to the Philippians showed them that by centering their lives on Christ, that they too might live in true joy. Several times in the letter, Paul is exhorting the Philippians to translate their relationship with Jesus into their daily living. And in the face of opposition, he's even telling the Philippian believers to stand fast and to have one mind striving together for the faith of the gospel. So how can we take Paul's letter and apply it to our own lives? Well, for starters, we all have much to be thankful for. However, that pace and the pressure of life often squeezes the joy from us. And we often find ourselves focusing on our circumstances instead of focusing on Christ. You see, joy doesn't come from our circumstances. Rather, true joy only comes from knowing Jesus Christ personally and then depending on his strength rather than our own. So with that, I hope that this introduction will get you started in the book of Philippians. So God bless and thanks for watching.